Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins, where we help you get smarter than your competition. Today, we're diving into the critical issue of AI governance, using the core arguments from Basil Puglisi's book, Governing AI, When Capability Exceeds Control.
So let's start with a really significant moment. In May of 2023, Geoffrey Hinton, who is widely known as the godfather of AI, did something that sent shockwaves through the entire tech industry. He resigned from his very senior role at Google. And you have to understand, this wasn't just a quiet retirement, it was a deliberate public alarm bell.
Hinton, who's a Nobel and Turing Award winner, made it very clear why he was leaving. He told the New York Times he wanted to talk about AI safety without worrying about how it might affect Google's business. He'd come to believe the very technology he helped pioneer was moving way too fast, and he felt he couldn't stay silent any longer.
And his warning wasn't just some vague, abstract concern. No, he put a number on it. He gave a stark probability, a 10 to 20% chance that artificial intelligence could lead to human extinction within just the next 30 years. Now, coming from one of the world's absolute foremost experts, that is not a negligible risk. It's a substantial probability we have to take seriously.
It turns out Hinton's expert warning really taps into a growing public intuition. According to data from the Pew Research Center, half of all Americans are now more concerned than they are excited about AI. And what's really interesting is this trend. The more people learn about artificial intelligence, the more worried they seem to become.
And that brings us to the central problem that the source material identifies. It's this. AI's capabilities are advancing at an exponential rate, but our ability to actually govern and control it is, well, it's not keeping up. This isn't some accident or oversight. It's a structural problem baked into our current approach to development.
The book puts forward a key concept to help us understand this. It's called temporal inseparability. The idea is actually pretty straightforward. If an organization can't even properly govern something small-scale, like a biased hiring algorithm today, how can we expect it to manage a vastly more powerful, potentially dangerous AI system tomorrow? The small failures of today are a direct preview of much larger failures in the future.
So, you might be asking, why does this gap between capability and control keep getting wider? The main driver is something the author calls the economic override pattern. Essentially, the intense pressure for profit and for market dominance means that making an AI more powerful is always prioritized over making sure it's safe. Without some kind of enforced accountability, safety just gets treated like another business cost to be minimized.
And look, this is not just a theory. The data bears it out. A 2025 survey from EY found that 76% of organizations are already using or planning to use autonomous AI agents, but only 33% of them actually have responsible AI controls in place. The numbers tell a clear story. Most companies are racing full steam ahead, but they haven't built the brakes.
On top of that, this race is being run by just a handful of companies. We're talking about frontier AI development being concentrated in about 5 major corporations. This creates what you could call a cultural monoculture. These systems are trained mostly on Western data, which means they end up exporting a very specific set of cultural values across the globe, all while being presented as objective, neutral technology.
Now, it's important to understand that the consequences of this governance gap aren't some far-off theoretical problem. They're tangible, they're real, and they are causing harm right now. Let's look at a couple of clear examples.
In early 2024, a finance worker in Hong Kong was targeted in a sophisticated scam. He was invited to a video conference with people he thought were his senior colleagues. Even the company's CFO was there. The problem? They were all incredibly realistic deepfakes. He was convinced to transfer $25 million.
An incident like this really marks a dangerous turning point. What it shows is a potential collapse of our most fundamental methods of verification. Think about it. When synthetic media becomes so good that it's indistinguishable from reality, we can no longer trust our own eyes and ears.
This harm also shows up in quieter, automated systems that affect people's lives directly. For example, a ProPublica investigation looked into the Compass algorithm, which is used by some U.S. courts to predict if a defendant will reoffend. It found a significant racial bias. The system was almost twice as likely to falsely flag black defendants as being high risk compared to white defendants. This is an AI system directly impacting judicial outcomes and human liberty.
And these kinds of algorithmic problems are often fueled by mass data collection. The massive infrastructure of surveillance we've built is gathering data that trains these systems. As a result, they can end up encoding and then amplifying the societal biases that already exist. What begins as simple data collection can quickly become the foundation for automated social control on a massive scale.
All right, so faced with all these risks, how do we start to regain control? The book argues that the solution isn't just about writing high-level ethical principles. It's about building the practical, operational capacity for governance. It's about what we do, not just what we say.
The core proposal is a model called checkpoint-based governance. The idea is that instead of letting automation run completely unchecked, you build in mandatory points where a human being has to review, authorize, and take responsibility for a critical decision. It's a system designed specifically to keep human judgment and, importantly, human accountability in the loop.
This whole model rests on 5 key imperatives. First, you have to establish those mandatory checkpoints. Second, you distribute authority so there's no single point of failure. Third, you conduct rigorous safety evaluations before a model's ever deployed. Fourth, you demand transparent audits. And finally, you have to coordinate internationally, because these are, without a doubt, global risks. And all of this leads us to the final, critical question that we have to ask ourselves. We can clearly see AI's capabilities are moving exponentially, while our control systems are just developing linearly. We see the gap. We see the risks it's creating. So the question for all of us, for our companies, our industries, and our societies is this: is our governance truly ready for what's coming? Thank you for watching. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. To continue learning with us, please subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. And if you found this overview valuable, please like, comment, and share it to help us reach a wider audience.